Have you ever brought home a beautiful plant in a small pot, only to watch it struggle, become root-bound, or completely take over your space? Sometimes the problem isn't you, it's the pot. Certain plants simply cannot thrive in small containers, no matter how much you care for them. They need room to stretch their roots, and when they don't get it, they become stunted, stressed, or even aggressive. Today, on No Secrets Gardening, we're talking about 7 plants you should never grow in small pots. This isn't about discouraging you, it's about setting you up for success. When you know what these plants need from the start, you can make better choices and avoid frustration. If you're tired of plants that don't thrive despite your best efforts, hit that subscribe button right now. We're here to help you understand what works and what doesn't, so every plant you bring home has the best chance to flourish. Let's talk about these 7 plants and why they need more space than you might think. Why pot size matters more than you think. Before we meet our 7 plants, let's understand what happens when roots run out of space. Plants absorb water and nutrients through their roots. In a small pot, roots quickly fill the available soil, becoming tangled and circling around themselves. This is called being root-bound. When this happens, the plant can't absorb enough moisture or nutrients, even if you water and fertilize regularly. The plant becomes stressed. Growth slows or stops, leaves yellow. The plant may wilt even when the soil is moist, because the roots simply can't function properly anymore. Some plants tolerate small pots well. We've talked about many of them in previous videos, but the 7 we're covering today are different. They have vigorous root systems, grow large above ground, or spread aggressively. In small pots, they suffer or cause problems. Number 1. Mint, the escape artist. Mint is wonderfully easy to grow and deliciously fragrant. But in a small pot, mint becomes a problem quickly. Why small pots fail. Mint spreads through underground runners called rhizomes. These runners want to travel far and wide. In a 4 or 6-inch pot, the runners circle endlessly, becoming so tangled and dense that the plant chokes itself. Within weeks, a small pot of mint becomes root-bound. The plant stops producing those fresh, vibrant leaves you want. Instead, you get thin, pale stems reaching desperately upward, searching for resources. What mint actually needs: use a pot at least 10 to 12 inches wide and equally deep. Even better, use a wider, shallower container that gives the runners room to spread horizontally. Or accept that you'll need to divide and repot mint every few months if you insist on a smaller container. Quick tip: if you grow mint in a small pot, be prepared to pull it out every 6 to 8 weeks, divide the root ball, and replant with fresh soil. Otherwise, it will languish. Number 2. Tomatoes. The hungry giants. Tomatoes are probably the most popular container vegetable, but they're also the most frequently grown in pots that are far too small. Why small pots fail. Tomato plants have extensive root systems that need depth and width. A tomato in a 6 or 8-inch pot will survive, but it won't thrive. The plant becomes stunted, produces few flowers, and any fruit that does form will be small and disappointing. Tomatoes are also heavy feeders. They need abundant nutrients, which means abundant soil to hold those nutrients. Small pots simply can't provide enough resources. What tomatoes actually need: for standard tomato varieties, use a pot at least 18 to 20 inches wide and 16 to 18 inches deep. Even dwarf or patio varieties need a minimum of 12 inches in both directions. The bigger the pot, the better your harvest. A 5-gallon bucket with drainage holes works beautifully for 1 tomato plant. Gardening fact: tomatoes can develop roots up to 3 feet deep in garden soil. In containers, they'll fill every inch of available space, so give them as much as you can. Number 3. Bamboo, the relentless spreader. Lucky bamboo, which we discussed in water growing, is fine in small containers. But true bamboo, the tall, woody kind, is a completely different story. Why small pots fail catastrophically. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. Some species grow several feet in a single day. The root system, called a rhizome system, is incredibly aggressive. In a small pot, bamboo roots will circle rapidly, becoming so dense that they can actually crack ceramic or terracotta pots. Plastic pots may bulge and deform. The plant becomes desperately root-bound within months. What bamboo actually needs? If you must grow bamboo in containers, use enormous pots, at least 24 inches wide and equally deep, with very thick walls. Even then, expect to divide the plant yearly. Honestly, bamboo is not ideal for container growing unless you choose clumping varieties specifically bred for pots and are willing to commit to large, heavy containers. Quick tip: if someone offers you bamboo, ask whether it's running or clumping bamboo. Running bamboo is the aggressive spreader. Clumping bamboo is slightly more manageable, but still needs large containers. Number 4. Fiddle leaf fig. The statement plant with deep roots. The fiddle leaf fig has become an interior design favorite with its large violin-shaped leaves. But this trendy tree has specific needs that small pots cannot meet. Why small pots fail. Fiddle leaf figs grow tall, up to 6 feet or more indoors. That height requires a substantial root system for stability and nutrient uptake. In a small pot, the plant becomes top-heavy and unstable. It may tip over, especially after watering when the soil is heavy. More importantly, the restricted roots can't support healthy leaf production. The plant drops leaves, develops brown spots, or simply stops growing. What fiddle leaf figs actually need. Start with a pot at least 12 to 14 inches wide for a young plant. As the tree grows, plan to repot into progressively larger containers, eventually 18 to 24 inches wide for a mature specimen. The pot should be heavy enough to counterbalance the height. Ceramic or thick plastic works better than lightweight materials. If this video is helping you avoid costly mistakes, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps others find this information. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever tried growing any of these plants in small pots? What happened? Share your experience in the comments below. Your stories help everyone learn. Now, let's continue with 3 more plants that demand more space than you might expect. Number 5. Hostas, the spreading shade lovers. Hostas are perennials we mentioned earlier for balcony pots, and they do grow in containers. But the key word is large containers. Small pots spell disaster for hostas. Why small pots fail? Hostas have spreading root systems that want to expand horizontally. In a small pot, the roots become bound within a season. The plant's growth stalls, leaves become smaller and less vibrant, and the hosta never reaches its full, lush potential. Small pots also dry out quickly, and hostas need consistent moisture. The combination of restricted roots and inadequate water creates a stressed, struggling plant. What hostas actually need. Use a pot at least 16 to 18 inches wide and 12 to 14 inches deep for a single hosta. If you're planting multiple hostas together for a fuller look, go even larger, 24 inches or more. Hostas are perennials that grow larger each year. Plan for their mature size, not their size when you buy them. Quick tip: if you have a hosta in a small pot and it's struggling, repotting it into a larger container can completely transform the plant within 1 growing season. Number 6. Dill, the deep-rooted. Herb dill seems innocent enough. It's an herb, after all, and herbs often do well in small pots. But dill is an exception that frustrates many container gardeners. Why small pots fail. Dill develops a long taproot that drives straight down. In a shallow or small pot, that taproot hits the bottom quickly and has nowhere to go. The plant becomes stunted, produces fewer leaves, and bolts, goes to seed prematurely. When dill bolts early, it stops producing those feathery leaves you want for cooking. You're left with tall flower stalks and disappointment. What dill actually needs: use a pot at least 12 inches deep. Depth matters more than width for dill. 8 to 10 inches wide is sufficient, but that depth is non-negotiable. Dill also doesn't like being transplanted, so start seeds directly in the container you plan to use, rather than moving seedlings. Gardening. Fact: dill's taproot can reach 18 to 24 inches deep in garden soil. While it can't achieve that in a container, giving it at least 12 inches allows it to develop properly and produce abundant foliage. Number 7. Swiss chard. The leafy giant, Swiss chard, is a beautiful, productive vegetable with colorful stems in red, yellow, orange, and white. But it's much larger than most people expect, and small pots create problems. Why small pots fail. Swiss chard grows large leaves, often 12 to 18 inches long on mature plants. Those big leaves need a substantial root system to support them. In a small pot, the plant can't develop properly. Leaves remain small, growth is slow, and the plant may topple over as it tries to grow larger than its roots can support. Small pots also dry out too quickly for chard, which prefers consistent soil moisture. What Swiss chard actually needs: use a pot at least 12 to 14 inches wide and 10 to 12 inches deep. Larger is better. A 16 to 18-inch pot will produce a truly impressive chard plant with continuous harvests. Swiss chard is a cut-and-come-again vegetable. With proper space, you can harvest outer leaves for months while the center keeps producing. Quick tip: if space is truly limited, look for compact varieties like Bright Lights, specifically bred for containers. But even these need at least 10 to 12 inches of pot width to perform well. What to do if you've already planted these in small pots? If you're looking at a struggling plant and recognizing it on this list, don't panic. Here's what you can do. Repot immediately. Get a larger container and fresh potting soil. Gently remove the plant, loosen the root-bound roots if they're circling, and replant in the bigger pot. Water thoroughly. Expect recovery time. The plant may look stressed for a week or two as it adjusts, but once the roots find room to grow, you'll see improvement quickly. Learn for next time. Now you know what these plants need. When you buy them in the future, start with appropriately sized containers from day one. Don't feel bad. Every gardener makes these mistakes. The difference between a struggling gardener and a successful one isn't avoiding mistakes. It's learning from them. 7 plants that need more room than you think: mint, tomatoes, bamboo, fiddle leaf figs, hostas, dill, and Swiss chard. Each one has specific needs that small containers simply cannot meet. Understanding plant needs isn't about making gardening harder, it's about making it easier. When you give plants what they require from the start, you avoid frustration, wasted money, and the heartbreak of watching something struggle despite your care. Container gardening is wonderful, but it works best when we respect the nature of what we're growing. Some plants adapt beautifully to small spaces. Others need room to spread, deepen, or grow tall. Knowing the difference is the secret to success. Have you grown any of these plants in small pots? What was your experience? And what other plants do you think deserve a warning? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience helps others avoid the same struggles. And if you're finding value in these honest, practical tips, Please subscribe to No Secrets Gardening. We're here to tell you what really works, not just what sounds good. Thank you for your time today. Grow calmly, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy gardening!